Pullouts are an absolute difference maker in breaststroke. Swimmers can be mediocre breaststrokers, but have absolutely terrific pullouts, and especially in short course swimming, can allow them to have really fast overall breaststroke times. In contrast, you have some swimmers that are excellent breaststrokers, but really struggle with their pullouts, and as a result, they lose races they otherwise shouldn't lose. Let's fix that. Hi everyone, Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. While the pullouts are almost a completely separate skill as compared to regular breaststroke swimming, if swimmers want to optimize and maximize their speed in breaststroke, they have to get better at pullouts. And while pullouts can seem like a mystery to those that struggle with them, fast pullouts are determined by the same basic principles that we see in all the other strokes. Swimmers have to have great alignment, they have to create a lot of propulsion, and they have to do so with good timing. So if swimmers can figure out those skills, they can improve their pullouts. Let's find out how to make it happen. So why do pullouts matter? Well, for swimmers that are good at them, it can make up 50% and sometimes even more of short course races. So having great pullouts becomes a tremendous advantage if swimmers can execute them really well, and it also becomes a terrible liability if swimmers are really poor at them. I'm sure you've seen it when both swimmers hit the wall, come off the wall at the same time, and then one swimmer ends up a body length ahead, and that's just off one wall. And so the impact, even if it's not as significant, starts to get bigger and bigger with each and every wall. And so if swimmers can establish that advantage over other swimmers, they're going to have a huge advantage. And if they're falling behind by a significant amount each wall, they're going to be at a disadvantage that even the best swimmer is going to struggle to overcome. Beyond the speed element, there's also the issue of what they cost. Pullouts are simply easier. So if swimmers can cover more distance at the same or faster speeds and with less effort, that's going to make it so much easier to execute and sustain their speed even on the surface for that much longer throughout the course of the race. And further, if swimmers can take fewer strokes because they're creating so much speed under the water with their pullouts, that's also going to allow them to sustain their skills more effectively during the last part of their race because they simply haven't done as much swimming, and they've also not used as much energy because they're creating so much distance and speed off the wall. So if swimmers can get better at pullouts, they'll have more speed, and that speed will potentially cost them less energy, which means they can finish even better. So what makes a great pullout? As I mentioned earlier, it all comes down to alignment, it comes down to propulsion, and it comes down to timing. So from an alignment perspective, swimmers need to be in a great streamline coming off the wall. They need to be in a great streamline coming out of the pullout itself. And then when they transition to the surface, they need to make sure that that angle is appropriate, and they need to recover the arms and the legs as smoothly and as efficiently and with as little resistance as possible to maintain as much speed as possible. And of course, in order to continue to move forward, swimmers have to create a lot of propulsion, both with the big pullout itself and with the dolphin kick. The more propulsion swimmers can create, the more speed they're going to generate, the further they're going to go, the more effective the pullout's going to be. Finally, there's an issue of timing, and the primary considerations are when do swimmers actually start the pullout and how can they more smoothly transition to the surface. So if swimmers take their pullout right away as soon as their feet leave the wall, they're going to be taking their pullout when they're traveling really fast, and they're going to be moving faster than they can actually do their pullout. So they're much better off waiting until they've slowed down. However, if they wait forever until they literally stop, that's not going to be good either, because then they're going to have to reaccelerate and they're not going to maintain their speed. Same thing goes with when do they decide to transition to the surface. Most swimmers are not going to immediately pull out and then immediately recover the hands, although it should happen pretty quick. There needs to be some sort of delay in order to ride that speed off the pullout. But again, they don't want to wait too long because they have to get up to the surface without losing speed, and they have to get up at the right angle. So they have to time those components effectively, trying to minimize the loss of speed and keep speed as consistent as possible. So if we watch these swimmers here, what we'll see, you can see their body is super straight. There's a super tight streamline. They're creating great alignment, and they're not creating much resistance. So that's the first step, is they've got to have really good alignment when they're gliding in order to maintain as much speed as possible when they do glide. Now, when it comes to creating propulsion, we're going to see that kick there. It's going to be tight. It's going to be snappy. It's going to be fast. And then if we watch the arm pull here, he's going to set up. He's going to have a great surface area. You can see most of his forearm is facing backwards, his hands facing backwards. He's going to get that set up pretty far in front of the stroke. He's going to hold that position all the way through. Even there, everything's still facing backwards, and then finish really tight. And again, you watch that streamline. He's being really, really tight with the streamline, and that's going to allow him to maintain as much speed as possible after the pullout itself. Then He's going to recover the arms nice and tight to the body as he transitions to the surface, and then he gets out of that position fast. He recovers the feet fast because, again, this is going to be a position that's going to be creating a lot of resistance, and so he needs to get out of that position fast, and then boom, back into a streamline, and he's up at the surface of the water. So again, streamline, solid kick, powerful pull, really great streamline, and then a smooth transition to the surface. He's keeping everything tight with his recovery. He's keeping everything fast with the leg recovery. And if you notice, it's a smooth transition up. He's never angling up to the surface. He's just kind of floating up to the surface. And that minimizes the amount of resistance he creates when he does that. So same skill now coming off the wall. So again, really tight streamline. She's going to wait for it before setting it up. Snappy dolphin kick, pull out. Gets those arms facing backwards, pretty far in front of her body. Pulling back with that, keeping the forearms and the hands oriented backwards. And then again, really tight streamline. Waiting for it. Recovering the arms tight to the body. Recovering the legs fast. And then transitioning to the surface. So again, she's obviously executing the pull out a little bit differently than the first person. However, it's the same principles, and that's what's going to create speed for an effective pull out. So we see some swimmers that have really good pullouts, and we see a lot of swimmers that have not very good pullouts. So why does that happen? Why is it so difficult to improve pullouts? The biggest challenge is that it's hard to get a lot of really relevant practice. Each pullout is going to be a single effort. You do it, and then you start over. And unfortunately, it's hard to do multiple relevant pullouts within one lap. You kind of push off the wall. That's a huge part of it. You do the pullout, and then the swimmer is 12.5 meters down the pool, and they're kind of left with nothing else to do. They can't really do another one. And so there's going to be a lot of time between pullouts when done within the context of a normal practice. It's also difficult to recreate racing conditions other than doing a lot of pace 50s. But if you're doing a lot of pace 50s, a lot of pace 25s, they're still not going to get very many pullout opportunities, and it's going to be really tiring, really exhausting. It's not something that can be done constantly. So the big challenge is, how do you get a lot of practice working on the relevant skills without just completely exhausting swimmers? Similarly, swimmers don't get a lot of feedback as to why they're not executing great pullouts, what they can improve, and whether they improved or not. And those factors are all really key for driving progress. If they don't know what was wrong, it's hard to know how to improve. And again, if swimmers don't have a lot of practice, they're not getting great feedback, that learning curve is going to be really, really slow. It's going to take a long time to make progress, or in some cases, swimmers simply don't make progress because they just don't get enough practice. And when they do get practice, they don't get enough good feedback as to whether what they're doing is effective or not. And if they don't have that feedback, they're not going to be able to make the changes they need in order to improve. When it comes to getting better at pullouts, we have to find solutions that overcome those challenges. We have to help swimmers get a lot of practice, and it has to be as relevant practice as possible. And we need to create situations where they get a lot of feedback. And the feedback can take place in many different forms, but most importantly, it has to let swimmers know whether they were being effective or not effective, and allow them the opportunity to create change. So if we can get a lot more practice, if we can get a lot more feedback, if we can get better feedback, they're going to be able to improve faster, and they're going to be able to create the changes that we want to see that are going to allow them to have more effective pullouts. So the first aspect is working on the pull itself. If swimmers have a really terrible pull, even if they have great alignment, they've got great timing, they're simply not going to get much distance. They're simply not going to get much speed on the pullout itself. So the three basic exercises that I like to use are wall pull, which is when they put their hands on the deck when they're in the pool, or they put their hands in the gutter and they press straight down with their whole forearm. That's going to help them feel the position they want to get in and how to create pressure on the water from that position. Then you can have power pulls, which they're basically doing a pull out on the surface, trying to take that same principle that they felt in the wall pull, the position and the pressure, and execute that, pulling straight back in order to move themselves forward. Then you can take the same basic skill and then just do pull downs underwater, where you're just focusing on moving water backwards, pulling straight backwards. You're not worrying about the recovery up to the surface or anything like that. And so the idea here is just help swimmers learn to move more water. They need to get a great surface area. They need to hold that surface area over a big range of motion. They need to accelerate the pull. So by doing the wall pulls, they can feel it. By doing the power pulls, they can start to execute it in the water. And by doing the power pull downs, they can start to make it happen under the water. We're keeping it simple, and we're giving them the opportunity to get a lot of practice working on these skills. So the idea here is to put the arms in a position where they're going to create a big surface area in the water. They're going to use the whole forearm, and then they're going to create pressure in that position in order to move the body forward. And that's how they're going to learn how to move a lot of water, is get in the right positions, learn how to create pressure in those positions, and that sets the foundation for everything else that they need to learn. Next up is power pulls. So they're going to take that same basic concept and they're going to execute it on the surface of the water. So the idea here is to set up the stroke early, hold a lot of water, and move a lot of water straight back to pull the body straight forward. And so they can do a lot of repetitions over the course of a 25. They can get a lot of practice with it. And again, it builds off the previous skill because they're focusing on setting up the stroke and then pulling straight back, creating a lot of pressure using the whole arm to move the body forward. And then next, they're just going to execute that same skill under the water. And so they're not worrying about the recovery of the arms and the legs. They're just thinking about setting it up, getting a good pull, and then really letting it rip. So they're trying to feel the acceleration forward. They're creating that same position with the arm and then creating pressure in that position and holding that pressure all the way through the back of the stroke. That's what we're looking for. And we start with a wall pull. You finish with the power pull downs. It's a simple way to challenge these skills and the simple way to help swimmers feel and learn to build those skills. Now, to help swimmers learn to get more out of each pull, to help those drills become more effective, to enhance the feedback, to enhance the learning, we can use both resistance and hand postures. The goal is to help swimmers learn to move more water with each pull. And so by using the resistance, we can change the feedback. So they're going to get even more pressure on the arm. They're going to feel that. They're going to become more aware of what they're doing with the arms as they pull them back. And the resistance in it of itself is going to encourage more direct force application. They're going to have to create more force to move themselves forward, and they're going to have to apply those forces more effectively. If they're just moving the arms side to side, that's not going to help them move forward to overcome the resistance. They have to learn to apply pressure backwards and create a lot of pressure in order to overcome the resistance. And then when that resistance is gone, they use the same skills. That means a lot more speed in the pullout. By using different hand postures, again, we're going to change what they feel. We're going to change how they're interacting with the water. And by using closed fists, by using upside down paddles, by using different types of paddles, by using single paddles, by using one closed fist at a time, we're going to encourage the use of the forearm and we're going to change what they feel. That's going to get their attention. That's going to help them become more aware of the options for creating a lot of propulsion, for creating a lot of pressure. And by combining the two, we can magnify the impact of either one. Resistance is good, hand postures are good. Combining them and using both strategies at the same time is going to make it even more effective. And because we can use different types of resistance, different hand postures, and with different drills and lots of different combinations, we're going to get lots of variation, lots of variety, and that means more novelty as well. And that's going to allow swimmers to continue to learn because they're doing the same things and they're doing them in different ways. And that's going to continue to challenge them rather than just doing the same thing over and over and over again. Another strategy that can be really useful is cord work. It can be really effective because it allows swimmers to get a lot of high quality repetitions. The tension of the cord requires swimmers to set up the stroke immediately or they're going to get pulled backwards, and they have to hold water throughout or they're going to get pulled backwards as well. So they're getting immediate feedback as to whether they're executing their pullouts effectively or not. Because if they're not, they're simply going to get pulled backwards and they're going to be able to feel that right away. And so there's two different variations that I like. The first is stationary pullouts, and that's where the swimmers are going to be against a cord. They're going to be in the middle of the pool, and they're going to be trying to maintain their position by executing pullouts on the surface of the water. And so again, if they don't recover the arms fast, a key skill in the pullout, and if they don't set up the stroke fast and hold those positions throughout the entire stroke, they're going to get pulled backwards. They get a lot of practice and a lot of feedback. Short cord pullouts, they're going to be with a really short cord or a double wrapped cord. They're going to be pushing off the wall, executing a pullout, and then getting yanked back. They have to execute multiple skills well here, or they're going to get pulled all over the place, or they're not going to be able to get out very far at all. If they don't have a strong push, they're not going to get very far. If they don't have effective alignment, they're going to get pulled out of position, and they're going to get pulled out of position when the cord brings them back. And again, if they don't have a powerful pull, they're not going to get out very far either. And just like with the stationary cord, all that tension, that's going to give them a lot of feedback as to how effective they're being with their pullout itself. And the tension on their body is going to give them a lot of feedback as to whether they're aligned or not. If they're out of alignment, even just a little bit, and the cord starts pulling them back, they're going to get pulled back all over the place. They want to get pulled straight back. So here's stationary pullouts. You can see she's just on the surface, and she's getting pulled back. And so you can see even when she recovers, she starts getting pulled back a little bit. And so that's what we're trying to avoid. She's got to recover the arms really fast, and she's got to set up the stroke quickly and pull effectively, or else she's going to get yanked back. So again, a lot of feedback in terms of the quality of the pull. And if she's not in good positions, she's not creating good positions quickly, she's going to get pulled back. So with short cord pullouts, she's going to do a pullout and she's going to get pulled back. So push off, pull out, and then get pulled back. And so if she's not doing a good job with her alignment, she's going to get pulled side to side. If she's not getting a good push, she's not going to get out far. And then if she's not having an effective pullout, she's not going to be able to get far out either. And so the goal is to get as far as she can, and she's got to execute all those skills really well and control her alignment, or else that cord is going to be really unforgiving. It's not going to allow her to get out far, and it's going to pull her back out of alignment, giving her a lot of feedback that she wasn't in a good alignment when she pushed off the wall or when she executed her pullout. So if you watch really good swimmers, you watch good pullouts, you'll see that the dolphin kick is executed in a little bit different way with different swimmers. You'll have some swimmers that have a really small kick, some that have a pretty big kick, some that execute the kick early before the pullout, and some after the pullout. So it's not always clear exactly the most effective way to do it, the most effective time to do it. So rather than just prescribing what swimmers should do, or just assuming that what they already do is the most effective way to do it, having them explore different types of kicks can be really useful to help them figure out what's going to be the best for them. So you can change the size of the kick, have them alternate between really big kicks, really small kicks. You can change the timing of the kick, have them kick early before the pullout, have them kick really late after the pullout, and let them play with things in between. By doing it in many different ways, by doing it in different combinations, you're going to help them figure out what's going to be best for them. And especially if you're having them do it with some sort of speed expectation, that's going to give them feedback as to what's fast as well. So again, rather than prescribing exactly how they should execute the kick, let them explore the different options, try to get some speed measurements on it, and let them figure it out. Each swimmer is going to be a little bit different, and that's okay. What matters most is they're constantly trying to figure out what's going to work best for them, and sooner than later, they're going to figure out the best solution, and they're going to learn to execute that at a really high level. One of the key skills in having great pullouts is having a really great streamline both before the pullout and after the pullout. And unfortunately, it's a skill that many swimmers struggle with, and more importantly, they really struggle to improve it. So if we can create awareness of their alignment and how much resistance is being created, and whenever they're under the water, whenever they're doing pullouts, we can help them learn how to feel better ways to move and organize their body to go through the water, and that's going to create less resistance and more speed. So there's 3 different strategies you can use here. The first is overspeed. So especially using fins, that extra speed means more drag, which means swimmers can feel the resistance that they're creating as they move through the water. And if they can feel it, then they can start to change it. So by having them swim even faster than normal, they can start to feel where they're creating resistance, and they can start to try to eliminate it. You can also have them wear clothing such as t-shirts or shorts, and that's going to create more resistance on their body wherever the clothing is. And just as importantly, when they take that clothing off, they're going to feel the water flowing all over their body, and that's going to help them feel where they create more resistance. They'll be able to feel the flow of the water over their body. They'll be able to feel the pressure on their body. They'll be able to feel where there's more resistance, preventing the body from moving forward. Again, it's all about helping them feel it. Finally, you can have them wear a weight belt, and that's going to help create more awareness of where their hips are, what everything's doing, how they're controlling their alignment, how they're positioning their torso. And again, like with the clothing, once they take that off, they're going to be better able to manage their position and control it in order to create speed through better alignment. Once you've done a lot of work with all the previous strategies, you've really worked on the components of the pullout, you can start having swimmers execute more pullouts, doing double pullouts during training sets. So this gives them more practice in relevant conditions, and because they're training, there's usually some sort of time expectation, so they're learning how to create speed and getting feedback as to whether they do create speed or not when they actually execute their pullouts. So if they're supposed to go 30 seconds for a 50, they have to still go 30 seconds even if they're taking double pullouts. And if they're really good at pullouts, they want to see if they can go even faster than that. And so if they're not really good at the pullouts, they're really struggling with it, those slow pullouts are going to get punished. It's going to be a lot harder to swim fast, and that's going to encourage swimmers to try to figure out, use the skills that they've been working on in order to create more speed. If they can get faster when they're executing double pullouts, that means their pullouts are more than likely improving, and if those pullouts are improving in practice sooner than later, they're going to start improving in races. And beyond the skill of executing pullouts, at some level, swimmers have to manage their breath control as well, because even if they have great pullouts, but they have to bail on it halfway through because they can't hold their breath, that's a problem as well. So performing more double pullout can be useful for helping swimmers extend the amount of time that they can manage underwater without rushing or panicking their strokes. So let's check out some sets. So the first one here, 2 rounds through, they're going to go 4 25s, power pulls with a buoy. They're going to take 1 less stroke per 25, so they have to get more out of each pullout each time. Then they're going to go 4 25s, triple pullout. The odds, they're going to change the kick timing each rep. The evens, they're going to change the kick size each rep. So they're really playing with the dolphin kick here. They're trying to figure out what works. Then they're going to go 4 times, 20 seconds on, 40 seconds off, stationary cord pullouts. So again, trying to create a lot of propulsion, hold their position on the surface of the water against the resistance. Then we're going back to those 25s, change the kick size. Then we're going to go 4 25s power pull down, minimize stroke count and time. So now they have to create speed and efficiency during those pull downs. The only way they're going to do that is with really great skills. And then we'll finish it off, 4 more 25s, triple pullout. Again, changing the kick timing each rep on the odds and the kick size on the evens. Now, one more thing is before each 25, they're going to do 10 seconds of wall pull before each repetition. Again, really groove that position, really groove the ability to create pressure in that position as well. So a lot of repetitions here, all pretty relevant context. Sets like this can help swimmers learn to execute these skills better over time, and in this particular case, improve the power of the pull and the effectiveness of their dolphin kick. This set, they're going to continue to work on the pull itself. They're going to go 4 times 4 reps of a short cord pullout. So they're going to do 4 short cord pullouts on 1 breath, and then they're going to stop, and they're going to do that 4 times. Then they're going to go 2 25s power pull downs. The first one is as few strokes as possible, trying to get as much distance as possible with each pull. And then the second one, they just have to go as fast as possible. They're going to do the whole thing 6 rounds. And on the short cord pullouts, to really encourage them to learn to use the hands, use the arms more effectively, they're going to go single tennis ball on round 1 and 4. They're going to go single paddle on round 2 and 5. And on rounds 3 and 6, the odd reps, they're going to go upside down paddles. The even reps, they're going to go regular hands. So again, challenging them to learn to create propulsion with the hands in different ways. That's going to expand their skill set. We've got the resistance, and then they can actually try to apply it during the power pull downs. And rather than just trying to feel it during the power pull downs, they're getting measured on skill. They've got to create as few strokes as possible on the odds, which one, they're going to have great alignment, and they're going to have a great pull. The second one, it's all about creating speed. And again, if they don't have great alignment, they don't have a great pull, they're not going to be effective in that either. And so just like the previous round, lots of repetitions, lots of high quality repetitions, which is going to accelerate learning. Last set, they're going to go 4 rounds through. They're going to start off with 2 25s power pulls with parachute and upside down paddles. Those are fast. So the parachute is going to require them to create more propulsion and to do so more effectively. The upside down paddles is going to require them to use the forearms. Then they're going to go 4 25s power pull downs, fins in a t-shirt. The odds are minimized stroke count and time. The evens are fast. So what we're trying to accomplish there, the fins, that's going to create more speed. That means they can feel the drag. The t-shirt's going to create even more drag on the upper body. Those 2 training aids are going to interact, create even more resistance, and swimmers are going to be able to feel that. And it's not just that they'll feel it, they have to actually perform there, minimizing stroke count and time and going fast on the evens. Then they'll take all that gear off, and they're going to go 50 breaststroke, double pullouts. Start strong, descend 1 to 4. So we're working on the propulsion, we're working on the alignment, and then we're giving swimmers the chance to make that all happen, and they can measure their performance along the way to see if they're effective at actually executing these skills in a way that creates speed. If you want to learn more about the key skills in executing great pullouts, check out the video below.